Let's go. First live stream since the bombshell. And I know a lot of you are excited to talk about the new look SEC. If this is actually going to happen. Okay, so give me a Go Tigers in the comments section to let me know that it doesn't matter if Texas wants to join the party. It doesn't matter if Oklahoma wants to join the party. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter where you're from. We're the mother freaking LSU Tigers. And we will not fear anybody that wants to join the SEC. Ohio State can come in. Clemson can come in. The New England Patriots with Jarrett Stidham can come in. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. As we welcome in Trey, we'll welcome in Larry, welcome in Matt, we'll welcome in the Prez. Cliff is in here. We're from Canada. We got Ryan in Canada. We got Lamar representing the Tide tonight. Hey, it's all good, baby. Rep your team. And Big Al says, I'm here too, by the way. I love it, man. I love it. So tonight, I am in a really good mood, right? I'm wearing a shirt that one of you viewers sent me. My guy Yusha from the Ukraine, LSU, Louisiana State University, in, I believe, Russian. This is cool, man. So we have such a worldwide audience, right? And it's interesting because I am big into international soccer. What's up, Jared? How you doing? And it's so weird that all of what we're going through right now is exactly what happened in international soccer. So last year, they wanted to create a super league where the best teams wanted to form their own league. And that is essentially what's happening here with the Southeastern Conference. Texas and Oklahoma is tired of carrying the weight of the Big 12, and they want to make more money. And essentially, that's what all of this comes down to. Now, here is the very interesting thing, okay? And this is very key. And I want you guys to really focus in on what I'm about to say. I am shocked that we could not figure this out sooner, right? So sooner, pun intended, pun not intended. That's your job, Big Al, for the puns. But it's interesting, right? How did we not figure this out? This had been going on since December of last year, apparently. The Big 12 wanting to get in with the SEC. At least then. Some people say it's been a year since this has started. And the fact that this remained a secret with old dudes. Remember, these are old dudes with technology. A text to a wrong source, a text to a wrong person, an email to a wrong person could have easily tipped this off. So what does this tell you about this story? That whatever wants to be kept under wraps will be kept under wraps, right? It is amazing. When leaks happen, it is intended. It is rare, and I mean rare, that a leak comes out unintended, right? And that is what really fascinates me about this story. And it makes all the more sense in the world that Texas and Oklahoma is going to make this move, especially considering we are moving to a 12-team playoff, okay? So the bottom line is the bottom line here. Texas and Oklahoma would not have joined the SEC if they did not know that the 12-team playoff is coming. So I think for sure, if you're one of those people that thinks, well, the 12-team playoff might not happen, Texas and Oklahoma would not be joining the Southeastern Conference if the 12-team playoff would not happen, okay? So that's the first thing. The second thing is obviously the poll question, all right? So as always, you guys know the rules about live streams, Venmo, Cash App, Super Chat. That is the absolute best way to support the channel. And by the way, we do have booger bracelets. You can get your own booger bracelet. As you can see, we do have a limited supply of these. We probably have about 20 or 30 more in this pack. So 1 for 10, 2 for 15. 3 for 20 to the Venmo or the Cash App. And we say hi to Rai. He is always our first super chat on a Saturday night. Bring it on, Longhorns and Sooners. I can't wait to knock him down a peg. This is what the SEC, not the crap 12. You're in for a whooping. So this is what's interesting, right? And I really do believe this to be true. We should commend Texas and Oklahoma for doing this, okay? And I'm so glad you mentioned this, Ryan, right? Because I still think LSU will have a leg up over Texas and Oklahoma because LSU has the state of Louisiana, has the state of Louisiana, has the state, the Pelican State under wraps. How about that? And Texas, the best Texas prospects are going to Texas, Texas A&M, Oklahoma, and Alabama. They're honestly being split up pretty evenly amongst those schools, and LSU normally gets one or two, right? So this leads to Mick. And Mick, actually, our Friday video, I had your comment in the video. I had to cut it out for brevity. It might have made it. I don't remember. This kind of leads into our starting topic for the night. And this is going to go along with Rai Super Chat. Obviously, Venmo, Cash App, Super Chat. If you want to talk recruiting, we're going to talk about Sean Murphy. We're going to talk about Emory Jones. We're going to talk about Azareyeh Thomas. All that's coming up in the next week. We're also going to talk about Max and Myles and the current team. But this is the biggest story, one of the biggest stories in the history of college football. So this is very important, okay? Now, let's first discuss, is this good for LSU? Okay. Yes. I cannot quit thinking about how great this is for LSU. I think this helps LSU more than it helps, obviously, Texas A&M and more than it helps Alabama for a few reasons. The first thing, and this is the biggest reason, is that it's ironic, and I know I've made this point a few times now, that the video that we released on, I believe, Tuesday was about the SEC schedule, okay? And the SEC schedule favors Texas A&M and Alabama over LSU in a major way because of the permanent cross-division rival. So every year, LSU has to play Florida, and Texas A&M gets to play South Carolina, and Alabama gets to play Tennessee. Over the past decade, Tennessee hasn't really gotten close to Alabama. And since South Carolina's been Texas A&M's cross-division rival, they have not beaten them. And this is the major reason why it's a big deal, because every year LSU has to play Florida. So the first big win, and this is by far the biggest win for LSU, is that the unfair schedule will be revised. It has to be with the current SEC. It cannot go along with an 8-game conference schedule. It just doesn't make any sense. It's implausible. So as an LSU fan, you should be very excited that this is happening. That is by far the biggest reason. The second biggest reason is, and this is key as well, I do think this eats into Texas A&M's recruiting, obviously, more than it does LSU. And I also think it'll eat into Alabama's recruiting just a little bit, right? And what I mean by that is LSU is going to be just fine on the recruiting trail. Now, what you should be fearful of is Oklahoma and Texas starting to make inroads in Louisiana. I don't know if that's going to happen, but we'll see. What's up, DC? What's good? Let's go, Michael. Now, this leads us to Mick's point, okay? And Mick, I don't know if you caught the video on Friday, but if you did, we'll rehash his point again. So, yes, LSU has been very lucky to have so many great Texas players, right? Obviously, we focus mostly on recent history here. So, you think of the all-time great Texas Tigers. You think of Matt Flynn, Jamal Adams, Michael Brockers, Jalen Mills, Terrence Tolliver, Craig Lawson, Russell Shepard. There's quite a few really good players from the state of Texas that has ended up going to LSU. But for the most part, especially in recent years, the state of Texas has had a high number of players that went to LSU not work itself out. So to go along with Rai's point is, yes, LSU will lose some recruiting, just a little bit, but The first thing is that Texas and Oklahoma were already starting to recruit the state of Texas better anyway. And the second thing is LSU's not had that much help in recent years from the state of Texas. Now, that might change when Garrett Nussmeier becomes a starter, if he ever becomes a starter, and then obviously Landon Jackson, Dwight McGlothern. That's not to say that there won't be good players from the state of Texas on LSU's roster this year or in the foreseeable future. It's just not as big of a deal as we might think, right? It is still, LSU will always be mostly Louisiana guys. 12 of the 36 prospects from the state of Texas that has gone to LSU from the year 2008 to the year 2019. 12 of the 35 prospects. I didn't include Cade York because he's a kicker, and it's a little bit different evaluating those, but 12 of the 35. So 1 out of every 3 Texas prospects turn out to be decent. Once again, that's bare minimum decent. So it's not, especially in recent years, there's been a high bust rate. Now, this is a retort to that. 2017 was LSU's best recruiting class ever. There was a lot of Texas players that were very much involved in that team. They had 5 players from the state of Texas in that 2017 class. 4 of them hit. 3 of them were really good players: Ed Ingram, Austin Deculus, and Kerry Vincent. 1 was a really, really phenomenal player, Caleb Von Chason. But really, when you look at Texas Tigers at LSU, the legends, okay? There's a few legendary players from the state of Texas. Matt Flynn's one of them. Jamal Adams is one of them. Still, an overwhelming majority are from Louisiana, and you can make a strong case that Florida has quite a few elite guys that have gone to LSU as well. So I just think, yes, Texas is very important to LSU's recruiting blueprint, but it's not the be-all, end-all. Welcome to the SEC, Blake Shelton. I did not think we'd get a Blake Shelton reference, but welcome. I don't know how I feel about old Blake Shelton. Let's go to Trey. He wants to talk about the current team. So here we go. No question, but man, I'm dying for fall camp to start. Then I know games are coming. Let's go. Shout out to you, Trey. Really appreciate your support of the channel. And Trey, man, you're the man, dude. So I am in a really good mood tonight. I shared that a little bit earlier. Let me pull this out really quickly. Okay. Hit that like button. There we go. So let's do this. All right. If you super chat tonight, I pulled this card from earlier. I'm hooking you up with the man, the myth, the legend, Terrace Marshall card to a super chatter. If you super chat tonight, you will get this card, or you have a chance to win this card right here. Terrace Marshall rookie. Here's what I love about this rookie card. This card was from the 2019 National Championship team. You know this because he is wearing the jersey number 150. This is obviously after a touchdown. Which touchdown was this? I do not know. But this card is beautiful. It's got this vintage Donruss look. So, if you super chat tonight, or if you buy some bands, there you go. Right there. Boom. Right. I don't know if I can let you win, man. You got one of my favorite freaking cards, man. I freaking missed that Thaddeus Moss autograph. Let's see. So far, out of 43 votes, who do you fear more joining the SEC? Oklahoma over Texas. I'm a little shocked by that. I know, Trey. It honestly is really hard. It is pretty ridiculous how many touchdowns Terrace Marshall scored. I think Cody Worsham said it best. Like Cody Worsham did a stand-up, and he was standing in the end zone. He's like, I'm standing in Terrace Marshall's end zone right now. Or no, I messed up the joke. I'm standing in Terrace Marshall's home right now. It is unreal how many touchdowns he scored. It's wild. You voted Texas? Yeah. Keaton. But anyway, Keaton, we'll get to you watching the Instagram of Jacoby and Jaquelin squatting 600 pounds. Super excited, strongly. And that's a good point, Keaton, because a lot of these players are going through the offseason for the first time. And Jacoby and Jaquelin, this is their first real offseason with the LSU strength staff. Let's go to SG. Everyone welcome SG back to the chat. There we go. Just stay away from Trey. Okay. How many more live streams before the first game? So we are, 44 days? So how many weeks is that? So about 8 or 9, maybe? What's up, Brennan? Everyone welcome SG. I love it. Well, Texas being in the SEM caused A&M to leave the league. So this is actually a decent point right here from SG, right? The bottom line here is this. What's up, Casey? You hadn't been here in a while either. Once again, just stay away from Trey. Trey said I voted Oklahoma because of their reputation for the high-scoring offense. Yep. So, will Texas cause – okay. So, this is a good question, SG. No. Okay. Texas A&M is – they're going to throw a hissy fit like they are. I can understand why Ross Bjork – understand that Ross Bjork is a very interesting character. So, he's a Texas A&M athletic director. He was once the athletic director at Ole Miss, right? He got the job at Texas A&M because Texas A&M's athletic director is currently LSU's athletic director and Scott Woodward. So Ross Bjork told the SEC media that when this news broke, now this is interesting. You know, I always say, don't always just pay attention to the news that breaks. Figure out when it did break. Okay. And SG, we'll get to this is part of your point. So just a few minutes ago, we were talking about how insane it is that this major story that it's one thing to keep a story in, like let's just say Kevin Durant was going to retire. Okay, let's just say he decided, hey, I'm done playing basketball, I want to retire. That is a story he can keep to himself. What makes this story so daggum fascinating is that the power brokers at Texas, and there's a lot of them, the power brokers at Oklahoma, they also have a board of regents. And obviously the SEC power brokers, they had to keep all of this hush mouth. And then out of nowhere, they decided to strategically, whoever it was, break the story when Texas A&M was on the podium for SEC Media Days. The timing of this whole thing is like, it's crazily orchestrated. It is wild how many moving parts without any leaks, without anything. And it just happens to break when Ross Bjork was talking to the media, which raises to me a bunch of conspiracies and suspicions. Okay. A lot of you probably don't care about that. You just care about the story itself. But it is wild that A&M was just blindsided by this. Now, A&M will throw a hissy fit and say, look, we want it to be the only Texas school in the SEC. And that has helped them in recruiting, and it has helped their brand. Johnny Manziel certainly helped with that as well, Mike Evans. But, you know, the SEC is just going to make such an astronomical amount of money now that it's going to be legit impossible for Texas A&M to consider leaving, even if they are perturbed by this. And, you know, I've seen a few really good diatribes on this from Texas A&M grads. I think Casey Smith released something. She was really passionate about this. And the bottom line is, if you come to the SEC, this is a big boys table. You can't be whiny about it. Understand that this is a vicious league, right? Morals are out the window, right? A lot of you don't care about morality. You care about football. And whoever you play on your schedule is your schedule. Whatever happens, happens. And look, Texas A&M, the quicker they get over their whining phase, the better off they're going to be. So I don't think A&M SG will leave. I just think that they're gonna cry about it and then eventually just have to move on. And I think also, and this is also very important, SG. Let me see. I hope I didn't spook him. He didn't say anything after that. After I said, everyone, round of applause for SG back in there. And this is obviously very important as well, right? You have to understand how much in college football your brand matters. It really does matter. Okay. The good thing, and some of you are college baseball fans, you guys have seen this, right? In college baseball, where all these random teams have become big time brands in college baseball. That's because of the nature of the sport, right? College basketball, it is a very brand heavy sport with Kentucky and Kansas and Duke, but you've also seen Villanova and you've also seen Virginia and you've also seen a variety. College football does not change. Once every decade, you have a Clemson pop up. The decade before that was Oklahoma and the rise of LSU as well. But really, only a few brands matter in college football. Only a few, right? And I think what Texas A&M fears, obviously Texas joining, Texas is a bigger brand than Texas A&M. Oklahoma is a bigger brand than Texas A&M, okay? Texas A&M does not compete for championships. They have not done so in quite some time in pretty much any sport you can think of. They fear being drowned out because it was such a huge bargaining chip to say, we represent Texas in by far the biggest league in all of college football. Can't say that anymore. So brands matter so much. And right now, Texas A&M does have a brand. They do have a good little recruiting streak going. Jimbo did take them to the brink of the playoff. But what is Texas A&M? Like, they're kind of a different brand. I don't think of them as, this prime time program. You can still be really cool and not have won anything. I just don't even think people view Texas A&M that way as well either, even though they've had some of the coolest players in the SEC over the past decade. They've had Myles Garrett. They've had, obviously, Manziel. They've had Mike Evans, right? They have legit got to make a playoff before people really start taking them seriously. So we'll see. What's up, Hit Stick? Good to see you, man. SG is in the building. I love it. Let's see. Do you think LSU and Texas will be the new rivalry? It's a good question, Carlton. No, I don't. Even though 3rd and 17 did add a lot to it, not going to lie, I really would like to see Texas in Tiger Stadium because I have had the opportunity to see Matthew McConaughey in Tiger Stadium. It's a different story for a different day. I hate that we didn't get to do a follow-up game, right? Even if it was our 2020 squad going up against Texas, it's just cool. I'm weird. I like seeing the big brands in college football. I just do. I like seeing them in person. And I've yet to see Texas in person. I'd really like to see them. It's just cool to see, the iconic helmet, even though I hate them. So yeah, I cannot tell you how on board I am with Texas and Oklahoma joining the SEC. It's so good for LSU. And I might be eating my words in 5 years. They might start getting into Louisiana, recruiting better players, and it might start beating us. We might become a mediocre team. It very well could happen. College football is weird. If your foot's not on the gas, if you're not choking out your opposition 24/7, 365, you can get caught up. Trust me, the pocketbooks aren't going to dry up. Texas A&M is paying their athletes to do interviews for $10,000. The pocketbooks are deep everywhere. So trust me, this could be a disaster for LSU. But if they stay on top of their recruiting and if they stay on top of their coaching, it's going to be so hard for LSU to not benefit from this. Now, obviously, the schedule format's going to be a big deal. How they actually, divvy things up, we'll see how that happens. I'm also a proponent of potentially getting rid of the SEC championship game. I just think it makes a lot of sense to get rid of it, especially now that you have a bigger conference and you're spreading out the 12-game format. And honestly, if two teams in the SEC are meeting for the SEC championship, more than likely in a 12-team playoff format with Texas and Oklahoma in the conference anyway, both of those teams are going to be getting into the playoff. So what I could see happening is with the SEC championship game, you could see coaches rest stars for the playoff as college football stretches itself out to 13, 14, 15, potentially 16 game seasons. So we'll see. So let's go to Brandon. Brandon's been with me since pre-100 subscribers. Hey, what's up, Carter? As an LSU fan, I would like to start a rivalry with Texas. Yeah, okay. Larry is in Houston, and Larry, I love it, man. Larry was giving us the inside scoop on Sage Ryan. Larry was like, even when it was Sage Ryan, Alabama, Larry was hitting me up and it was like, dude, this is not going to happen. This is not going to happen. Sage Ryan's going to LSU. Larry, thanks for keeping me grounded through that troubling time. Yeah, Michael, if that happens, Arch would be the biggest star in college football if he made Texas relevant again. He really would. He'd be the biggest star. Pretty sure LSU is unstoppable. Not true. It's not true. You very well could get stopped, right? Elite programs can fall off. It's hard, but it can happen if you don't stay on top of a few different things. I think ED Orgeron won't have any problems doing that. So we'll see. Let's see. Hopefully this Emory Jones thing happens and we start recruiting that offensive line better. How about that? Guys, I'm fired up tonight. I'm in rare form. Tonight. Here's the thing. Okay, I'm just being honest. Comment right now. Okay, JJ's in the chat. Now I'm ready to go to a different level. Okay? Let me know in the chat if you're ready to take this to the next level, baby. Are you on my level tonight? Let me know in the chat right now. Let me freaking know. Let's go. Let's freaking go. I'm fired up. I'm not gonna lie. This was cool. I had a lot of you reach out to me personally saying, hey, I heard you on the 104.5 the other day. So I got a shout out on a live chat. Mario, man, love that guy, man. It's crazy because we were never at LSU together, but we were both at the radio station, KLSU. And that was my first ever appearance on that station. That's so cool, man. So shout out to Mario. I appreciate him. I know Matt. Is ready. I know Big Al's ready. I wish he was, Reed. We have to wait till August 1st. So that's like a week from now, right? We get the Sean Murphy news and we get the Emory Jones news back to back. And Sean Murphy, it looks like he's going to go to Alabama. So we'll see. I know, Larry. It is so wild. The Sage Ryan saga was just so scary, man. It was scary. That one would have really hurt. I appreciate you, Trey. I did not have a good segment, man. I did not. I don't know what it was. I wish I had a do-over. I thought it was okay, but I didn't feel like I was power hour LSU. I feel like I let you guys down. I feel like I did. Fitzgerald West has entered the chat. I love it, man. Next, Lloyd Cushenberry, Fitzgerald West. Jake Johnson at tight end. Y'all see him working out with Jason Witten? How freaking cool is that? Helps having a Super Bowl champion dad. I'm so ready to take this chat to the next level. Yeah, every hour can't be, and sometimes, Trey, you just have off days, man. But, I'm not going to lie, man. I'm really freaking excited about this. I really am. And look, I understand that there are a lot of national personalities that say, well, look, college football is dead as we know it. The NIL is going to change everything, and the conferences are going to be gone, and all of that. And I totally get that. And there are some concerns about the future of the sport. I totally get that as well. But you have to understand that college football was built on a faulty premise, right? That players would be in a league where millions upon millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars are made every year, and the players themselves do not get direct compensation from that, or the players themselves couldn't make money off their name, image, and likeness. It was a faulty premise from the get-go. And I understand scholarships do mean something. Playing for the school means something. I would walk on LSU for free. I would pay to play on the team. But the bottom line is, when your business models or become faulty like that, you have to evolve at some point. It's just basic economics. And you may not like it. You may not like where the sport is going. I know a lot of you do not like the fact that LSU's schedule is probably going to change. You do not like the fact that the conferences are going to change. And trust me, there is a lot of skepticism regarding how those things are actually going to work itself out. It's wild. It is so wild. But I really want you to think about that. Okay. And look, I'm one of those guys that says there is value in the scholarship. There is value in room and board. There is value to go to LSU, where you have the best tutors, you have the best nutritionists, you have the best coaches, you have the best strength coaches. They're going to hook you up with the job for life if you put in the right work and make the connections with the powerful people that exist at LSU or any Power 5 you can think of, right? There's a lot of value in that if you do the right things and you put in the work. However, two things can be true at the same time. While there is value in that, there's also the aspect of these bowl games. The college football playoff and the New Year's Six bowl games alone generate $429 million in revenue. Okay, $429 million. And I believe that's just the television contract aspect of it. It's absurd. It's absolutely absurd. So, at some point, things begin to tip, right? It is, and I think Jared says it perfect right here. It's so important. It is so important to keep this in mind, that it is weird. Trust me, there is a piece of me that is very scared about the money and the funding and what's going to happen to all the other sports. We're all concerned about it, right? And there are a lot of athletes that play smaller sports that are catapulted by football subsidizing it. A good example of this is the Olympics. My buddy, my best friend, was on a flight today with an LSU track athlete who was making a connection to Chicago to go to the Olympics, right? And or that was last week. I don't remember the story, but the bottom line is there's a lot of Olympians from LSU. And a big reason why they became Olympians is because they got to go to LSU and have these ridiculous track facilities and coaches. And obviously track and field is not going to produce revenue the same way football does. And football produced the revenue for them to have the scholarship and do all of that. This was a smaller story, but did you know an LSU tennis player and a college tennis player just won Wimbledon? Okay. Neil Skupski. It was a friend of mine in college, big Liverpool fan, love him. He won the mixed doubles. He went to LSU on a tennis scholarship, worked his tail off, just won Wimbledon. So the smaller sports do have value for a lot of athletes. I still think there is a way, though, even if some of the money instead go to the advertising dollars go to the player, I think it'll be fine. I do. Larry, yes, you do need to get yourself a t-shirt, man. 256. Got the ball to Eagle. I love it. Will we have a 1,000 rusher this year? Let me look this up real quick. 256. Let me see. I want to look this up. By the way, if you have a question and you want to catapult yourself to the front of the line, please support this channel. Venmo, Super Chat, Cash App is the best way to do it. By the way, Booger bands are on sale. 1 for $5, 2 for $15, 3 for $20, and that is shipped. All right. Let me look this up really quickly. Rushing offense. Now I want to look this up. Southeastern Conference rushing. And I want to see this really quickly. How many players actually... Okay. So what I want you to do, and I'm going to answer your question. Let's see. Z-bands, no Z-bands just yet. We gotta look. We love Z. Z has been awesome. You guys will get to see Z in a second if this just happens to be your first time. But Boog, you guys know I can get emotional on here. This is Boog's channel. Boog forever. But we will get to some Z-bands. I know, Mario, the Sean Murphy stuff. So here's what I want to ask you. Let's see. All right. So in 2019... Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Okay, so let me ask this question to 256, and I want all of you to answer this question as well. Just off the top of your head, how many 1,000-yard rushers were in the SEC in 2019? So obviously in 2020, you can't really have a 1,000-yard rusher. I mean, you can, but we don't have a full year of samples. So we're back to a regular season this year. So how many running backs in the SEC had 1,000-yard seasons in the SEC in 2019? Let me know in the comment section. Okay. I was waiting for the Master Blaster. Guys, you guys know that we can't have a live chat until the Master Blaster's in here, man. I know, Trey. Z... And I'm not going to lie, Trey, I'm glad you mentioned that. Z has been so bad today. Jared says 3. Trey says 3. Mario says 8. Big Al says 2. Rai says 5. Okay. So the correct answer is 6. So in 2019, there was 8 players that rushed for 1,000 yards. Only 6 of them were running backs. And that was Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Colin Hill, Najee, DeAndre Swift, Rakeem Boyd, and Keyshawn Vaughn, which is a pretty ridiculous list. The only one of those guys not in the NFL right now, I think, is Rakeem Boyd. That's crazy how good the running back crop was in 2019. And that doesn't include Isaiah Spiller, who rushed for 946 as a true freshman, and Larry Roundtree. So that's crazy. So, yes, 1,000 yards is very attainable, right? Keaton says, I know this much. I expect TDP and Emory. Okay, there's Carvis. TDP and Emory, the next Chubb and Michelle. So, yes, look, I don't think LSU's offense will be like Georgia's offense, where those 2 running backs will be able to shine like that. I think when I watch both of them, they're good. They're good backs that have talent. But there's a difference between being good and exceptional, right? And here's the concern for me is you can really spot exceptional pretty quickly. Obviously, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is a little bit different, but in 2019, it was pretty quickly seen by LSU that Clyde was a guy, right? And they were starting to, phase out Fournette in that offense, and he just decided to quit the team midway through the year, which was kind of weird. But really, though, Jeremy Hill was pretty clear he was special, right? Once he started getting carries. Fournette, and then obviously Guice, it was pretty obvious. And the question you have to ask yourself is, through 2 years of limited samples, so 2020 was such a weird year, and then 2019 Clyde was a guy. Well, JJ just sent me a Venmo, Cash App, Super Chat, and then, my bad, I didn't do a good enough job explaining this. So send me a Venmo, Cash App, Super Chat. And then when you send that, just email me your address and I will mail them out. I'm sorry about that. Once again, 1 for 10, 2 for 15, 3 for 20. But this is a good point by Keaton. Chris Curry also ate into their carry share, right? So Curry had 45 carries for 145 yards. Didn't make a lot of guys miss. I don't think Chris Curry is a good fit for the scheme. I think he'll be better at Utah. But we'll see. I think it will be a little better for TDP and Emory. Now they're the clear-cut guys. Plus, I think Jake Peets will have a better scheme for them. But I am a little concerned, right, that I cannot say with certainty that I feel either one of them are special. Now, the thing is you don't have to be special to be a really good back in the SEC. Like, I think Isaiah Spiller is really good. I don't think he's special per se. But it'll be interesting. TDP 15 to 20 touches and Emory 20 touches a game. Oh, that's going to be hard because, even if you include receptions. So LSU in 2018 was the leading rushing team on a carries per game basis. So in 2018, LSU averaged roughly 44 carries a game, but in 2019, that number dipped down to 34. And then in 2020, that number went up to 36. So they don't run the ball as much as they used to. So we'll see. And a lot of it, as 256 points out, a lot of it comes down to your offensive line. So we'll see. Complimentary football. It is achievable. It is achievable, though, to have an 1,000-yard rusher and a good running game. It is. Yeah, it's interesting, Matt. I've heard a lot of people say Anais is better. So we'll see. If they decide to make the jump to the SEC, it wouldn't come into effect until what? 2026. I would guess so. Jawan, I don't really know though, because then it gets into what about these non-conference games that are scheduled? Because, like, for instance, LSU and I think Oklahoma have a few games scheduled. I don't think that's until later in the decade. I know LSU and Clemson are scheduled to play in 2025 and 2026. So we'll see. We got some breaking news here. Azareyeh Thomas included LSU in his finalist list. Let me see. Who were the final teams? That's obviously really cool. So Azareyeh Thomas, top 100 player. It is a top 3, so that's obviously really good. And his top 3, Georgia Tech, Florida, and LSU. He's a DB out of Florida. And he'd be a really good fit. I don't even know if he's a safety or a corner. His tape is really good, though. He could play both. Yusha. Okay, so I had a feeling that Yusha would do a random drop in tonight. Yusha, I'm wearing your shirt. Huh? I never thought I'd have a viewer that would send me a shirt of LSU in Russian. So I appreciate you, Yusha. Thank you, man. And wanted to throw this out here. You can get your PHL shirt by clicking there. When I get your PHL shirt, Larry said he's got to get one before the season so he can stand out for you Goofy movie fans. Clint, bring him in. Bring in Clemson. Bring in anybody. It'd be cool. What would be dope would be to create a 20-team Super League and create a 3-team relegation system and go full all-out EPL. Full all-out EPL. Bring on relegation. Vanderbilt, Arkansas, and Tennessee, you're out. SMU, Tulane, and Iowa, you're in. I would love it. I would love it. For you European soccer fans, you got that. For you Ted Lasso fans, you got that. Some of you have just learned what relegation was through Ted Lasso. But that would be cool. That would be really cool, right? What's up, Christian? So anyway, I'm going to do a super chat shout out. Once again, by the way, a super chatter tonight will be winning this Terrace Marshall card right here. So if you super chat, so far we've gotten Trey, SG, and Rai that is super chatted right here. JJ is getting ready to buy his booger band, so that's really cool. You can win this card. I just pulled this today, and I don't know if I really want to give it up. The back of the card is really cool, too. This is crazy. Terrace Marshall hauled in 9 touchdown passes in the first 4 games. Okay. Terrace Marshall's numbers in 2020, 48 catches, 731 yards, and 10 touchdowns. Do you know how ridiculous that is? That is, even though he didn't get to play in as good of an offense, that is essentially, I believe, like close to Jarvis Landry's stat line for a full season his first year starting. 48 catches is a lot. That is a lot. So if you super chat, you are entered to win Terrace Marshall. I love it. 72 people in here. I'm feeling good. Only 32 likes? Really? Only 32? Yeah, right. And it's interesting, right? You got to ask this question. How good was Myles Brennan? Was it Terrace Marshall making plays? I think a lot of it was that. And that's not really a shot on Myles Brennan. But Terrace Marshall was so freaking dominant last season. We just don't give him credit because obviously he was dominant in 2019 as the number 3 guy. And we'll always remember him for the Clemson catch. That is the crowning moment. That was the dagger of that glorious night in Tiger history. So we're not going to remember Terrace Marshall for what he did in 2020. But what he did in 2020 was far more impressive than what he did in 2019. And what he did in 2019 was ridiculous, right? So what's up, Roger? Let's go. You're the first one to say horns down. I love it. So, yes, this is very key, right? So the reason why it's important to talk about Terrace Marshall is he's really good at football, right? And you know, Max Johnson didn't have Terrace Marshall to throw the football to. Now, he did have Kayshon Boutte, and he balled out. But I'm telling you, Terrace Marshall, you look at some of the touchdown throws that Myles Brennan had. So, you know, Myles against Mississippi State, Terrace Marshall made a one-handed touchdown grab. Then the first touchdown against Vanderbilt, Myles Brennan telegraphed a pass. It was going to be intercepted. but Terrace Marshall jumped at the last second in midair in front of the Vanderbilt safety and actually made a better play on the ball. It was such a good play on the ball. He was basically untouched. I'll let you know that Terrace Marshall is probably one of the greatest, if not the greatest, red zone wide receiver in LSU history. He's really good. There we go. I love it. JJ. He is in the mix with the Terrace Marshall. Oh, yes, you're a Shreveport guy, too. Oh, man. I'm not going to lie. This actually is my favorite Terrace Marshall card that I pulled. I was actually going to give away another one that I didn't like as much as this one. But this one just happened to be here. I stored my other Terrace Marshall right here. Oh, Tony, the Master Blaster, is also a Shreveport guy. Well, there you go, JJ. He is in the mix. JJ, you're in the mix, man, for the Terrace Marshall card. I love it. It's good, man. I am a huge Terrace guy. I really am. Because here's the thing, man. I love it when football players play their best when everything else doesn't go their way, right? So Terrace played his best when Jamar left and then Justin left and pretty much everybody that surrounded him, and he became even better. I freaking love that guy, man. Freaking love him. Danny's a CD Lamb guy. So shout out to Roger. This was really cool. I don't get to see a lot of you guys in person. I got to hang out with Roger this week, and Roger said, I paid all my bills, but I got to pay for premium right now. Thank you so much, Roger, for your super chat. As you know, the super chats are what's able to keep this channel going. I do want to ask you guys a question, okay? And answer the chat. I promise you we'll get back in LSU football. Okay, I promise you. I just want to throw this out here now that 76 of you are in here. Trey, I'm telling you, Roger, what he does for a job is so freaking fascinating, right? Roger, don't tell anyone. We'll reveal what you do for a job down the road. But it was so cool to get to see Roger, and I hope to get to see all of you pretty soon. Oh, you went to school with Tre'Davious White's mom? That's really cool, man. God, I just pulled a Trey White card recently, too. But anyway, I want to ask you guys a question, okay? And I want a simple type Y for yes, type in for no type of thing. How many of you play fantasy football? Okay, so type Y for yes, type in for no. Where are my fantasy football fans? Type Y for yes, type in for no. Matt's Y, Christian's Y, Tony's Y. Danny doesn't. Danny, are you an Oklahoma fan? You're coming in here with the CD Lamb chat. It is interesting because obviously CD Lamb and Grant Delpit are close friends. Let's see, a lot of no's. Roger says, yes, I do. Jared says no. Big Al says no. Chase says yes. So it seems about 60-40 here. How many of you would want to play in a fantasy football league with me? Okay. Who would? What's up, Chase? That's all good, man. Good to have you. Who would want to play fantasy football with your fantasy football? Curious? That's cool, man. Oh, you're in OU med school? That's cool. I like it when different fan bases watch our channel. Oh, you play the pick'ems? You would too? You be game? Okay, cool. I just wanted to throw that out there. I'm working on a few different ways to interact with you guys even more. I just wanted to toss it out there. It was just a random idea. B Ran, what's good? I think this is your first time in the chat. Welcome, B Ran. Danny says, look, I've been an OU fan for so long. I've been an OU fan since the days of the Boss. And Danny said, look, I watched that LSU versus Oklahoma game. I watched Marcus Spears. You guys thought I was talking about the other one. I watched Marcus Spears rip our hearts out with that crazy pick six. And since that happened, I wanted to be a part of the SEC. And I totally get it, Danny. I totally get it. Are you like college pick'ems, Big Al? Cool stuff, man. So I'll work on something. Let me write that down. Let's see here. I want to interact with you guys even more. As you guys know, I do love doing regular videos. My favorite thing, though, are the live streams. This is our time to hang out. This is our time, right? Look at yourself right now. It doesn't matter where you are. You're an LSU football fanatic or you're a college football fanatic, okay? It's crazy what we're building here. It's crazy that, we get to chat about college football, even if you're Carvis and you think we're going to have a backfield better than Georgia's best backfield ever. Or was that Georgia's best backfield ever? Let me see. So they had Michelle and Chubb. But who was Todd Gurley's backup? Todd Gurley had someone. It was Gurley and someone else. And the Georgia, Georgia also had Natron Means, correct? And some dude named Herschel Walker. I don't remember that guy too much. Trey, you're on a cruise when that happened? That's wild. Danny just says, I want the 5-star D-line guys. Yeah, that's true, Danny. And Herschel Walker was okay. But who is... But was Todd Gurley better than Nick Chubb in college? I think Nick Chubb was Todd Gurley's backup. And then Sony Michel came after that. And then it was DeAndre Swift, I think. I don't know. There you go, Tony. I was trying to think of somebody. No Sean Marino. God, what a beast. What a freaking beast. You know what's fascinating? It is so wild to think if LSU would have played Georgia in 2007, right? That Georgia team with Matt Stafford and no Sean Marino, their pass rush was filthy. Let's just say this. I'm really happy we played Tennessee in the SEC championship instead of that Georgia team. That Georgia team was good. They were really good. So, yeah, Azareyeh Thomas. I'm feeling good about that one. I'm feeling really good about that. You got your friend to propose to his fiance when we beat OU in 2019? Huh? I love it. Yeah, Danny. So I grew up in Arkansas, and I really enjoyed the McFadden era. Even from an LSU perspective, you have to admit there was never a star athlete from a different school outside of maybe Devonta Smith that lit us up worse than Darren McFadden. No, Darren McFadden lit us up worse. What's up, Brian? Forever LSU. We go to Tommy with the super chat. Now with the new coordinators, how will Stingley be utilized? Will it just be on defense or some offense as well? Good question, Tommy. So the first thing is we did get an update on Derek Stingley Jr. playing offense, right? He said he's going to do whatever the coaches ask him to do. So he's going to do whatever helps the team win. All right. So this is where Ed Orgeron should step in and say, well, the best way to help the team win is for us to just have you focus on defense. There's so many different reasons why Derek Stingley on offense is probably not the best thing. 256, thank you for the super chat. We'll get to that right after this one from Tommy. I do not think Derek Stingley will play offense this next season. The value he provides at corner far outweigh the value he could provide on offense. I also am a big Jarrett Jenkins guy. I really, really do like Jarrett Jenkins. So I don't think with Jarrett and the great fresh and wide receivers and John Trey Kirkland, I just think it's going to be kind of hard to shoehorn Derek Stingley in on offense.
Be here, so if they want to see her, now's the time.
Now's the time? Okay. All right, guys. Quick brief. She's been so bad, and Trey was talking about her behavior.
How bad it is?
Yes, it's bad. Everyone say hi to
Mama,
She's bad.
give her here,
Go
Carter.
ahead. Go ahead.
No, just wait. Hey!
No. God, I got to answer this super chat. If she's going to be bad, she's been so bad today. She's been so bad.
You hadn't been tending to her.
Let's go, Tony. But anyway, yeah. I don't think – I think
Alex is coming. You have to behave.
You have to behave, Z. I'm sorry, but Z has been so bad today. So, she is a puppy. Timo, what's good? But honestly, he is too valuable. He is too valuable at cornerback to have him play offense. Because you also got to factor in Derek Stingley was very hurt last season. It wasn't just the injuries. It was the variety of injuries that he had. So number one, he provides you way more value on defense. Number two, in the NFL, he's not going to play offense. It's not going to be a Deion Sanders or Patrick Peterson situation where he's going to play some offense. I think the bigger question is, do you even want to risk him as a punt returner? I think Derek Stingley Jr. should remain the punt returner. He hasn't had a great history returning punts, but that doesn't mean he can't do it. So I'm fine with him remaining the punt returner. I do not want him playing offense. Yes, Z is in the house. We might bring her back later if she starts to act a little better. But as far as your first question, Tommy, with the new coordinators, I think Derek Stingley Jr. will just be a cornerstone corner. Let Sting do his thing on the outside and let him lock down whoever he needs to lock down on the outside. I think the more important question, Tommy, is who is going to line up at safety. And I cannot say this enough. We did a full defensive film study on what I think the pass defense is going to look like. I showed the specific mistake that Bo Pelini continued to make. A lot of defensive coordinators make this mistake. LSU far too often brought their safeties into the box for no reason whatsoever. So I think next year, the LSU defense is going to be very conservative with what they do defensively as far as their coverage schemes are concerned, which in other words means their safeties are going to play very far back. 256, I want to answer your question after this one from the Master Blaster, okay? Why do you feel so strongly about Jake Peetz's offense without seeing it first? Well, here's the thing, Tony, is Steve, what's good in South America? That's really cool. Where in South America? Well, Tony, I don't know where you got me saying that I'm high on the Jake Peetz offense. I am, but I'm not necessarily on fire. I don't think we are going to just light the world on fire like LSU did in 2019. I do have my skepticisms. I do think, pass protection is going to be very key. I also think Jake Peetz understands the importance of having a pass catching back out of the backfield. And, once again, this was very limited sample, but rewatching the practice footage and talking to some people that I trust, the LSU offense really needs a pass catching back. They need someone that they can rely on. And what I'm going to do is, and this is a guy that gets brought up the most on our live streams, Tony, is, and it's not even close as John Emery. And I keep hearing from people that John Emery's going to break out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a film study of why John Emery was taken out of the ball game so much last season. And I actually think I figured out why they decided to pull John Emery out of so many games. So we'll do that film study probably in the next week. Okay. So right is what is everyone drinking tonight? I'm drinking Nestle water. The Master Blaster. Honey Jack. I love it. So let's go to 256's. Our bald eagle right here, Moxley, who's an unknown that shows out on defense this year. Okay. So in the comment section, let me know who is an unknown that shows out on defense this next season, while you also tell us what is everyone drinking tonight. Sweet tea. I love it, Roger. That is good and Southern. I love that, man. Steven, we'll get to the offensive line a little bit later. Guys, I'm so sorry. Z is just, I don't know. She just bites. She goes crazy. You know, Boog was just so well behaved. There you go. JJ just got your email, man. Thank you. Your booger bands will be in the mail. Graylin, that's a good one. Joseph Evans. Keaton says Jarrell Cherry. Not as high on Jarrell Cherry as some. I hope he breaks out. I just think it's just going to be so hard for a defensive end to get on the field next season, not named Ojulari, Gay, or Anthony, or Fanua. Because if Cherry's going to break out, I think those 4 guys are ahead of him. I also think Savion Jones is going to play a lot more than people think. I really do. But I'm going to give you a guy. I'm going to give you a guy here. Okay. 256. Let me know if you're still watching. Because I want you to hear my guy here. I think Major Burns is going to play a lot. I really do. I think it would not shock me if Major Burns finds his way on the field as the starting safety for LSU next season. For a lot of reasons. Number one is Todd Harris and Jay Ward. While I think they can get the job done, the first thing is both of them have some injury history. The second thing is Major Burns does give you a little bit more of an athlete at safety compared to Todd Harris. So I think Major Burns will play a lot more, right? So obviously, the sexiest name out there is going to be Sage Ryan. Also, and this could just be my bias speaking, because he is a 3-star Louisiana kid and he is from New Roads, Louisiana. I could see Matthew Langlois playing a lot. I really can. Once again, it just comes down to athleticism. Him and Sage Ryan are sub 11 100-meter guys. And for those that don't know, that is really freaking fast. So, if you run a sub 10 100-meter dash, you're an Olympian. Okay, so that's ungodly fast. But if you run sub 11, that means, probably 5% of college football players can run sub 11. Probably 1 out of every 10 skill guys can run sub 11. Langlois and Sage are both sub 11 guys. So, if you're just talking pure athleticism, those 2 guys could be the fastest safeties in the room. It's just going to be hard for them to, play a lot early on. So Langlois is obviously, deep sleeper. But yeah, he will play special teams. If you're sub 11 100, you should be playing special teams. But yeah, Micah Baskerville, I love it. Yeah, Mario Z is still a puppy. I don't want you guys to think we hate her. It's just she is not necessarily camera ready. Tony, this is a good super chat here. Who in the chat besides me has seen the War Eagle fly around the stadium? So, Tony, I'm not going to lie. I was on the field next to the Eagle for the Cam Newton game before they actually took the Eagle out onto the field, and I got to see it up close. It really is cool. It really is freaking cool. Not going to lie. Jordan Hare. Someone asked this question recently, Tony. I think it might have been you. What is the coolest SEC stadium experience? Jordan Hare is phenomenal. Phenomenal. The sound system, the fans, the colors. It's just cool. I'm not going to lie. It's really freaking cool. So, yeah. And, the last time I was there was for the Cam Newton game. So that was when it was peak, outside of course, the Kick Six. And I also understand we have a lot of Auburn viewers that watch the channel. Vernon, Mark, shout out to you guys. But, yeah, it's cool. It's really freaking cool, man. There you are, Mark. Um, but yeah, you know, and this is what I say. I'm always going to think LSU's traditions are the best. I'm always going to think Death Valley is the best. I'm not the only one that thinks that. There's national people that have no ties to Baton Rouge. I would say the same thing. But it's naive to think we are so much better than everyone else when everyone's got good facilities. Everyone's got good home fields, you know. So whenever you hear about a kid that wants to go to another school and he's from Louisiana, all the power to you. You know, it's cool. I feel like you guys feel like I'm honest on this channel. Jordan Hare is really freaking cool. And everyone should make a trip. It's really freaking cool. Now, is Auburn going to be as fun of a city necessarily as, like, let's say Baton Rouge? Probably not. But it's still cool. Auburn's campus is really cool. My dad cries when the eagle flies. Yeah. You know, and, you know, same thing for LSU fans. You know, I'm sure it's going to be emotional when you're in packed Tiger Stadium for the first time and you hear Dan Bournet. It's Saturday night in Death Valley. Chance of rain. Chance of rain. Somebody, please. Chance of rain. Thank you, Roger. Goodness. I was waiting. I thought it was never going to come. Oh, man. Chance of rain. By the way, Dan Bournet is like the nicest guy ever. What do you think of Citizen playing linebacker? You know, Clint, I think it's a little too early to say, you know, is he going to play running back or linebacker? If I were him, I would look seriously into playing linebacker. Here's the interesting thing about that, right? Yeah, no packed crowd. I hope we will get packed crowds. You know, this is Clint, this is very important. All right. If you're a running back and you had to choose between playing linebacker, let me ask this to the chat, okay? If you were a running back and you had the opportunity to play linebacker or running back, which one would you choose? Okay. Let's say you were equally good at both. Okay. Let's say you were equally good at both. Would you rather play running back or linebacker? Okay. Matt changed his mind. JJ, man. JJ Haley asked me the other day. She's like, hey, are we ever going to go get steaks with JJ? Because JJ, you still owe us a steak dinner, man. Yeah, even though Haley can't have steaks anymore. She's a pescatarian now. There you go, Mark. That Auburn shout out deserves a super chat. Thank the Master Blaster, man. Look, not gonna lie, Auburn's cool. Auburn's cool. It just is. And something else I like about Auburn is that every time they come to Tiger Stadium, they lose. And they don't just lose. They either lose bad or they lose in heartbreaking fashion. Okay, so I'd rather hit than be hit. Exactly. So let's do some simple math here. Would you rather play running back or linebacker? How many running backs play? Okay. How many running backs actually play at a time. Well, only one running back plays at a time. Now, how many running backs play over the course of a game? Well, two do, right? So you have a starter, and then you have, the guy that spells you. Some people play three backs. But really, in 2019, LSU only had one running back. They had 1.5. TDP would get some carries from time to time. But linebacker, you're always going to have two linebackers on the field. Now, there's going to be some dime packages where you only have one, but you're always going to have two linebackers on the field at a time. So if you want to see the field faster, play linebacker. You go back to Devin White's methodology, right? And Devin White has shared this before. He quickly saw that he had a better future at linebacker. Worked out. He was a top 5 pick. It would take an act of God for him not to be one of the best linebackers to ever play. He's Ray Lewis good. He's going to be really good. So, yeah, I would like to play running back, get the ball in your hands. But when you get to play the linebacker, I think as we move forward, there's going to be more money given to linebackers and less given to running backs in the NFL. Also, it's kind of cool because linebacker is a little bit more of a cerebral position, right? Now, running backs, you have to be really smart. You got to read holes. You got to read cutback angles. But linebackers are the green dots, right? In football, they have the walkie-talkie in their head. They call the plays. Now, I think more safeties will as we move forward. So, yeah, it is an interesting question. If I was Cervantes Citizen, I would rather play linebacker because you're going to see the field there probably a little faster. Go in some stakes, man. I can't wait. Oh, yeah, Roger, that Auburn beatdown hurt. It really hurts. But oh well. Someone wants to talk Pig Cage. I love me some Pig Cage. I believe his trainer watches our channel. One of his individual trainers. Shout out to Hardy. Yeah, Pig Cage can ball out. I don't know if he's going to play safety. I think he'll play more nickel. He'll definitely get his shot at special teams. So we'll see. So that's interesting. So in high school, I marched in the band at halftime of the football game. So I would take my pads off and be that guy. All right. Steven, that's an interesting question. Do you think we could have a top 3 defense? Yes and no. No, because so much of what you do defensively comes down to how fast you play offensively. So total defense, highly unlikely because LSU is going to play a lot more plays. So Texas A&M and Georgia, they're going to have better total defenses. So the stat you want to look for is yards per play. And, as a yards per play basis, LSU very well could have one of the best defenses in college football. Wow, that's such a crazy story. No, Trey, that's not bad. Do you think TJ Finley will get the nod at Auburn? No, I don't. A few things. Bo Nix was at SEC Media Day. So, if there's a quarterback battle, more than likely you're not going to send. So like Max and Myles, they didn't send them to SEC Media Days because they don't know who the starter is going to be. Bo's going to be the guy. And I do think Bo Nix will take a step forward this next season. I think he's going to be a lot better than people give him credit for. Yes, he loses his 2 best wide receivers, but he did have the worst offensive coordinator in the SEC and one of the worst coaches in the history of the SEC as his coach. Okay? So, yeah, I don't think it's going to I don't think Bo's going to just suck like he did last season. Of course, outside of when he played us, when he had 300 yards passing and 80 yards rushing. But the bottom line is TJ Finley was not ready to play last season. And, and this is important. This is important data. TJ Finley was not that great in high school either. He was not dominant in high school. And honestly, he played better than what his high school career would tell you how he would play. He's definitely a year 3, year 4 quarterback, and he's only year 2 in his development. Some guys are Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields. They're ready to play right now, ready to play year 1. Most guys aren't that. Most guys aren't so unbelievably gifted to where they can play year 1. TJ Finley is definitely not that. Now, I like TJ Finley. I wish it would have worked out at LSU, but no matter where he went, he was going to be a year 3, year 4 guy. I've heard based on the spring game, we're going to be unblockable. We'll see. LSU's front is going to be really good, Steven. The thing that should be very interesting, and this is going to be this will be the biggest change from last year to this year. Okay. So I'll spend some time on this, Steven. You are, Steven, is this your first time on the channel? Representing Southern America. I love that. Shout out to Lionel Messi winning the Copas. So let's discuss. All right. So the 2019 LSU offense, the one thing that we don't talk enough about the 2019 LSU offense, they were unstoppable. Okay. We can all agree that they were unstoppable. I know you're like Charles Guy. Shout out to you. The 2019 LSU offense was unstoppable, but what made them unbeatable was Joe Burrow's ability to run. Okay. So what happens, and this happens a lot, in a highlight-driven society that we live in, we only get highlights of, the highlights you would see most often were Joe Burrow making a long throw or Joe Burrow throwing to Jamar Chase. But to me, the memorable plays were the plays that Joe Burrow didn't make because Joe Burrow never got sacked. He never gave up a disaster play. There were so many times where protection broke down against Auburn, against Clemson, and against Alabama, and then also Florida and Georgia, he ran for a lot of yards. That's what made him unbeatable. He was unstoppable with his arm. He was unbeatable. You could not win a game against him because even if you had good defensive game plans, Joe Burrow was still going to beat you because his legs made him so freaking unreal, right? So we look at the 2020 LSU defense, right? The LSU defense had something very weird happen to it. They played all these great offenses, but all of them featured pure pocket quarterbacks, guys that ran 4.9 40s, guys that were not fast at all. Next year, that changes. So last year, you go through the teams that LSU played. Costello was a pure pocket quarterback. Missouri had a pure pocket quarterback. Vanderbilt had a pure pocket quarterback. Guys that just could not run at all. They had no mobility. Alabama, pure pocket quarterback. Florida, same thing. The list goes on and on. Whereas this next year, it flips. Every quarterback LSU faces next season is more mobile than the quarterback that they faced last season. So that changes things for your pass rush. because pass rush lane integrity becomes that much more important. So you look at the two quarterbacks that LSU faced last season that had some mobility, okay? Well, they played three, but the two that really killed them with their legs was Bo Nix and Matt Corral, who both returned this next season. Matt Corral ran for 157 yards. Bo Nix ran for, I believe, 81 yards. And it really hurt. It really hurt. They were able to stay on the field. So that's going to be a key thing as well. How good are we going to be when our defensive line breaks through the offensive line? And they will a lot. Can we actually bring down their mobile quarterbacks and prevent their scrambling? It's going to be key. And, that's what made Joe Burrow so daggum good is to really appreciate Joe Burrow. And the reason why I thought Joe Burrow was going to be so great in the NFL was if you watched him on a play-by-play basis, it was the plays that he didn't make that were really impressive. It was evading the rush and throwing the ball away, or evading the rush and running for a yard or two instead of getting sacked for 7. It is unreal. Mr. Big Boy for Life said, seed neither. I love it. Oh, no, Reed, I was only making the comparison just to show how important mobility is for a quarterback, right? Which leads us to this next point with Myles and Max. Myles does not give you just that little bit of mobility. Joe Burrow was not Michael Vick. He wasn't Eric Crouch as a runner or whoever you want to mention. The only reason I bring that up is because, LSU is going to be facing a lot of quarterbacks that can kill you with their legs next season. So and that's just going to be key next season. That was the only reason I'm bringing it up. I'm not even comparing the LSU offense to Joe Burrow. I'm just showing that the quarterbacks next season that LSU faces, I believe all of them are going to be mobile. Yeah, Stephen, and that's where linebacker play is going to be key. By the way, it's okay anytime you can mention Joe Burrow, it's always a good thing, man. Huh? Joey B. I saw that photo of him. Did y'all see this? He had the photo with Olivia Dunn last week. Joey B looking good, man. There's a good story on him. Believe it or not, this was an interesting story I read this week from Bruce Feldman. So Joe Burrow works out with Carson Palmer's younger brother, right? And Jordan Palmer said, watch out this year. Joe Burrow is balling out, okay? So, and this is key. So like Carson Palmer has, or Jordan Palmer has all these trainers with them, right? And Joe Burrow doesn't have a cannon arm. So they were working on like every last little piece of mechanical stuff. So what they do is they brought in a guy who does motion capture, and they saw like the little mechanical things that Joe Burrow would do that would prevent his ball from going faster. But since Joe Burrow tore his leg up, obviously, he's had to work on different muscles to get back into shape. Well, those muscles and the work he's been doing with Palmer has actually forced Joe Burrow to throw a faster ball. So last year, they were clocking the football coming out of his hands at 48.5 miles per hour. And an LSU or an NFL quarterback, their throws normally go from like 45 to 50 miles per hour. So Joe Burrow throws 48.5 miles per hour. They clocked him recently. It's up to 53, 54 miles per hour. So Joe Burrow might have a rocket next season because he puts in the work, man. I get inspired when I read about like how freaking hard he puts in the work, man. I'm so excited to see it. And I am a Bengals fan now. You put Joe and Jamar on the same team, and that Michael Thomas news kind of ticked me off this week. As a Saints fan, I'll always like the Saints, but I feel as if we're gonna get a different type of Joey B this next season if he gets pass protection. God, I lost viewers talking about Joey B, I guess. We'll see. By the way, if you do Super Chat tonight, you're entered to win a Terrace Marshall card. It is interesting, right? They put Deculus out there for SEC Media Days. Good for him. He deserves it. You know, we'll see how things go next season, right? Okay, so I'll end this with the Joe Burrow chat here. I-10 Roman, JJ. JJ, I hope you're still in here, man. Roman on the road tonight. If you guys want to know this, my Twitter pinned post is actually a quote from Roman. He said he's listening to Power Hour LSU. This was like 5 live streams ago on I-10 eating a Popeyes chicken sandwich. God, that's heaven right there. Power Hour LSU and Popeyes. Freaking love it. Freaking love it, man. But it is interesting. And Roman, this is a good conversation to have, right? So, and this was what a lot of the national media said. Well, Joe Burrow was, surrounded by, the most talented offense you'll ever see. And that's true. I would never say no to that. Justin, Jamar, and all those guys are great. But that's why it's so important to watch the games, right? To watch and rewatch the games. What made that offense go was still Joe. The accuracy. I mean, honestly, go back. How many balls did Joe Burrow just fit into tight coverage? Really not that many. He would always find a way to throw the ball to the guy who had the matchup advantage. So that's why his completion percentage was just so freaking high. So yeah. I-10 Roman and JJ. That's a bromance right there. I love it. I love when bromances form. JJ in North Louisiana, I-10 in South Louisiana. I love it. TJ, does Major Burns have enough film for a film study? No, I have. Oh, you're off today? Good stuff, Roman. I love that. I have gotten a lot of questions about doing some Major Burns content. It's kind of hard to do it though, TJ, right? Because, you go back to his high school, it's just a little too much. But yeah, I do think Major Burns is going to play a lot. I think he's going to play a lot more than we probably think. Once again, what we tend to forget is we are moving back to this 13-game schedule. All right. And, you're going to have more injuries. It's just going to happen. So, more than likely there's going to be a member of LSU's back seven that will get dinged up. God forbid that doesn't happen. On the defensive line, as great as some of the individual defensive linemen are, LSU is so deep there where if someone goes down, it won't be the end of mankind, right? They're so unbelievably deep there that they will be fine. They can survive an injury or two there. The secondary is a little bit different. It is. So I do think Major Burns will play a lot. I do. I also think, the one guy, once again, sometimes he's accurate about some of the things he says. Sometimes he's not. not going to lie, I am a little concerned about the offensive line. Not necessarily the starting five, but it looks as if Garrett Dellinger could be the sixth guy. And, that's hard to be a true freshman. You played your high school ball in Michigan, and you're a true freshman starter. Now it can be done. Okay, so Sadiq Charles had to start as a true freshman. Siren Black, you could do it. It's just such a huge jump. Yeah, Trey, they're still doing that. I would be shocked if they weren't. I'll tell you this, as far as, just work ethic is concerned, and I think the wide receiver room is really amped up for this next season. So we'll see. I really do think Azareyeh Jenkins will shock a lot of people next year. You look at the advanced stats with Azareyeh Jenkins, and this goes back to, I did an analytical study of which one of the number 2 wide receivers will break out. And I know a lot of you are Trey Palmer guys. Trey's got a lot of fans in here. We got some Kentwood fans that listen to the channel, and I appreciate that. But let's be honest, Azareyeh's going to be that guy. He was really good last season. Now, was he unbelievable? No. Okay. Even though he had a bad drop against Vanderbilt, and it was so bad, at least it happened against Vanderbilt. And on top of that, Azareyeh Jenkins was one of the best wide receivers on the team when it comes to drop percentage. In fact, he was the best wide receiver on the team when it comes to drop percentage. So not only did he have great drop percentage, he had high ADOT, average depth of target. So that means that Azareyeh Jenkins stretches the field. He's also got some wiggle to his game. He's got some cutback to his game, which I like a lot. It's hard to have wiggle as a deep wide receiver, but Azareyeh can break a few off, right? And he would have had an early touchdown against Mississippi State if Myles Brennan hadn't been hit when he threw, the deep pass early in that game. I really like Azareyeh. I really do. Now, do I feel Azareyeh Jenkins is Terrace Marshall type talent? No, I don't think he can reach that level of play. But there's a few plays he makes on film that makes you wonder, can he? I mean, look, high football IQ, ferocious competitor, LSU through and through, Louisiana 3-star, chip on his shoulder. And here's something else I really like about Azareyeh Jenkins, right? So he comes into the 2018 class, right? And he's the 3rd wide receiver. Well, he was actually the 4th wide receiver, 4th highest wide receiver in that class. And Terrace was coming in that class. Jamar was coming in that class. Azareyeh said, look, I'm coming. I don't care if those 2 guys are as good as they are. I'm coming. Had to sit the bench in 2018. Wasn't even touching the field at all, really, in 2019. That's at a garbage time. In 2020, nobody was talking about it. But he just kept working, kept putting in the work. Got his opportunity against Mississippi State. Balled out. He was the only wide receiver on the team that really played wire to wire last season. So, yeah, I'm a big Azareyeh guy. And guess what? We're going into 2021. It's crazy what my inbox looks like. The 5 new freshman wide receivers. And Trey Palmer. And whoever else. I don't get a lot of Azareyeh Jenkins inboxes. Same thing as last season. But he's just really good. He's not flashy. Doesn't have a big personality. He just gets it done. Yeah, Big Al, I don't think anyone really thought that all 3 of those guys would be as great as they were. Silo, yeah. you know, it then comes down to me who the slot's going to be. Do you go with Coy Moore or do you go with Jontre Kirkland right off the bat? You know, Coy was a better player last season. Jontre was a more productive player in the spring game. I do think Coy Moore could be a really good third down back and 2-minute back. I like Coy a lot. I really do. I really, really do. Yeah, Coy's a really good route runner. And, you know, I was shocked he played as much as he did last season. So, you know, year 2 was always going to be Coy Moore's year anyway. So we'll see. So we have reached 100 votes on this poll. And Oklahoma was the overwhelming winner. Looks like I'm going to be on here for a good little bit. Haley's best friend came over. Now let me know. I'll get Haley's best friend on here too. Yeah, Coy's got a little wiggle. But it's interesting, though. Of the receivers who had 15 or more targets last season, Coy Moore was the only one to not average double-digit yards per catch. So he was a very underneath route runner. But, you know, once again, he was still so young. And most college wide receivers have their breakout year in year 2 or year 3. So we'll see. You know, I think Coy will be the starting slot. I do. And then you get to the freshman, right? Let's go to Graylin with the super chat. I love it. Pour some super chats on me in the name of love. Silo, you think year 3 for Coy? That's fair. Hey, Paris. Paris always coming in late. Paris, you had been on time for 2 live streams in a row. I'm about to get Haley in here, Paris. Get Haley in here. Harris, you are the queen of the Velvet Taco fan club on here. Let's go to Graylin. How do you rate the out-of-state recruit, not an OL, who've been reported to be in our top 3? Perkins, Wilson, Stewart, Abor, Harris, Thomas, and Lucas. Okay, good question here, Graylin. Oh, Paris, you had a flat tire? Oh, no, Paris. Haley's going to be so sad. You had a flat tire? How many people in here would have pulled over on the side of the road and helped Paris change the tire? Or Paris, were you able to change it? I don't know how to change a flat. I don't. So Paris, I'm curious. And Graylin, I promise you I'm going to get to your question because as we always do, we normally get to recruiting towards the end. So Paris, were you able to change the flat yourself? Did you have a spare? Did you have to call AAA? Oh, your brother helped you. There you go. I would need help too. I don't know how to change a tire. I do not know how to change a tire. And when I was traveling for comedy a lot, I always worried that in the back of my head. I was like, you know, if I don't get to this gig, I don't get paid. And if I hit a nail, I'm basically done for. I know, Cliff. Paris, you could have had the live stream pulled up, and then your brother could have checked in and everything. So anyway, let's go to Graylin Singh. How would you rate the out-of-state recruits? Not an offensive line. All right. Perkins, Kamari Wilson, Shamar Stewart, Denver Harris. Okay, so let's start with the number one. I based on my very limited film study, because look, it's not really important for me to look at the film of all the recruits until we get their senior tape. Obviously, their senior tape is going to let us know who they are as a recruit. Now, obviously, the coaches don't have the luxury of looking at senior tape because you have to recruit these kids basically before their senior years. Most of the elite recruits have already committed before their senior years have even begun. Now, the first thing I'll say, Graylin, is I do think we'll see a wave of decommitments. I really do. Just because of the it took 4 hours, Pierce. I'm so sorry to hear that. That really sucks. But Graylin, I do think we'll see a wave of decommitments. The recruits last season did not get to have the chills roll down their spine of being in a full stadium of fans. It's going to cause a lot of recruits to rethink things, especially with the NIL. There's just too many factors. And this Texas and Oklahoma news has a huge impact on what a lot of recruits are going to do. There's just too many factors, Graylin, for us to not see a wave of decommitments. I'm actually pretty shocked that so many kids have committed now. But here's something else that I think and this is just a theory, but I think recruits understand social media now more than ever before. I think recruits understand that decommitments don't mean anything, right? If you decommit, guess what? When you commit, you gain all these followers on Twitter. So Kelvin Banks kept pushing for followers on Twitter. He went from 5,000 to 8,000 in the final 24 hours of his commitment. Decommitments are going to happen. So that's the first thing. I think we're going to see a lot. So just because of no, Trey, don't leave. I think we'll see a lot of that. Now, you ask here, Stewart. Okay. Not Shamar Stewart. Evan Stewart, the 5-star receiver out of Texas. Who's my favorite player out of that group? I think Harold Perkins is the best prospect, period. I think he's number one over anybody. Just based on the junior tapes that I've seen, even though guys like Denver Harris and Devon Campbell are rated higher than him, I really do think Harold Perkins is a transcendent, out of this world talent. Now, what's interesting is I don't know necessarily what position he plays. Is he a standing defensive end? Is he a linebacker? Is he even a running back? Is he a slot? I mean, he's so athletic. His tape is so ridiculous. He's so freaking good. His football instincts, his football IQ, it's unreal. It's off the charts. But since Graylin, Harold Perkins is my number one rated player in 2022, period, he's my guy. That's my dream commitment. That is my dream get for this cycle. And the funny thing about it is LSU really doesn't need pass rush help. But God, he's good. He's really, really freaking good. Obviously, Emory Jones is my number one uncommitted guy. He is from Louisiana. He does play a huge position of need. But if we're talking pure talent, Harold Perkins is so freaking good. He's so freaking good. And Paris, I know you're a huge fan. What's up, Esteban? Esteban, I shipped your bands. Let me know if you got them. Bruce says, I heard the SEC is talking to Michigan, Ohio State, Florida State, and Clemson to make a super league. Yeah, I think that was a Barstool reporter who reported that. So, yeah. Let's see. Tony says, can we get a Go Tigers from Haley and her friend? Let's see if we can get them in here. I'll text them right now. Shaz Preston's a big deal too, but I was asked about out-of-state guys. Esteban, you're out of the country? Huh? Where are you, man? Ooh, Esteban. I put a pretty cool card in there for you, man. Let's see. Yeah, Bruce, I would be all in on Clemson. I'd be all in. Super League it. Why not? Create relegation. Haley sent me an audio message. I don't know if I want to play this. I think it was on accident. Do not want to play it. Huh? Oh, you're in Cabo? Esteban is watching us from Cabo? We're that important? Huh? Geometry, Dash Madness. What's good? Esteban. We'll see, Tony. I'm going to let them make their call on that. Now, Tony, if you dropped a $100 super chat, I would force them to come in here. I know, Mark. I do need to learn how to change a flat. Oh, Graylin, you agree with me. So Harold Perkins, Evan Stewart, and Kamari Wilson. It's not a bad top three right there. You know, obviously Devon Campbell would be nice, but he was an offensive lineman. Obviously Zach Rice would be nice. Yeah, Roman, that's interesting. I think Jake Johnson and LaTerrence Welsh are going to have 5 stars. Okay. I know, Leonard. It's wild. That's the power of Power Hour LSU, baby. I'm telling you, the chat gets lit when Esteban joins. I don't know what it is. I just think it's Esteban, honestly, I just think it's your name, man. Esteban is just such a great name. Let's think about the great athletes named Esteban. You got Esteban Loaiza. Who remembers Esteban Loaiza? I think he was a relief pitcher. Yeah, Paris. Denver Harris, very interesting. Yeah, but LSU going 9-4, 10-3. I'll take 10-3. Dude, what song is that, Leonard? I don't even know what. I don't even remember who sung that. I've been out of country music for way too long, Leonard. But I freaking the name Esteban is just so great. Esteban Cambiaso. Who do you play for? Was he was Cambiaso for Inter Milan? Who did Esteban Cambiaso play for? Yeah, but Clint, Cheryl is more talented than you and me. So he was Argentine. Esteban Cambiaso. Oh, he played for Real Madrid. No. He did play for Inter. I knew it. You have to admit that was good. All right. And he played for Leicester and Olympiacos. And it showed you, man, that European soccer knowledge, man. River Plate too. That's great. Reed says 10-3 is unacceptable. But honestly, you know, as a few other people have been mentioning, Graylin, will Harold Perkins actually come to LSU? You know, I think he would want to go somewhere where he can play the outside linebacker in a 3-4, because most of his clips are him just coming off the edge and just making plays. He's kind of like an unbelievably athletic tweener, if that makes sense. He reminds me of He reminds me of this is going to be an NBA reference for you. He reminds me of Kenneth Fareed, but as a football player, just a freak of nature, crazy motor, crazy speed. Yes, like Kayvon Chason, very similar. But definitely, and Chason was really skilled. Don't get it. But he's got just ridiculous skills. Yeah, Denver Harris is really good. I don't know how far of a drop off Denver Harris is to Azareyeh Thomas. Obviously, the recruiting ranking says that there is a huge drop off between the both of them. Once again, I've not really looked at both of their tapes deeply. I've looked at both of them. You know, Azareyeh Thomas is really good. You can just tell he's smooth, really athletic. Yeah, Esteban Marcel Brooks is a fair comparison for Harold Perkins, but he's better than that. Some guys just don't even play a position. They're just really freaking good. So who agrees with Reed? Is 10-3 unacceptable next season? Who in here thinks LSU needs an 11-win season, right? Or here's a better question. How many of you think it is implausible, like it would be a travesty if LSU went 9-4? Okay. How many of you feel it would be a beyond travesty that LSU went 9-4? Okay. So Reed, Roman agrees with Reed. I think a lot of you agree with you, Reed. Maybe I'm not hard enough. DRC, where have you been, dude? Good to see you, man. So a lot of you agree. A lot of you agree with Reed. So let me tell you this. This is going to tie in with Esteban here. If LSU is a 9-win team next season, what would you do? Like, let's just say, if you guys feel this way, if LSU is 9-4 next season, does a head need to roll? Do you want Ed Orgeron to go? This is what I'm talking about here. Because, if LSU wins 9 games next season and they go 9-4, how many of you feel 9-4? Okay. So let's do this. As we approach 2 hours, once again, I like to respect everyone's time. But like I always say, super chats. If you guys keep super chatting, we'll keep this thing going. We pull up LSU's schedule again. And, as we've said plenty of times over, LSU's back half of their schedule is far more difficult than their front half, right? So, obviously, you got the UCLA game. LSU's a 4.5-point favorite there. Exactly, Jay. So this is my point. Okay. Here's why you can't just say, well, if we go 9-4 is unacceptable. Okay. This is why I feel that's a little unfair, okay? Because there was a shift in the SEC, kind of like we were talking earlier, right? The SEC went from having pocket quarterbacks to mobile quarterbacks, right? So the thing is, I actually disagree with Tony, and I love you, the Master Blaster, but I disagree with Tony here. The schedule is not cake, right? So back in 2018 and 2019, the bottom half of the SEC was bad, okay? So we were near 100% certain to win games against Arkansas, games against Ole Miss, games against Vanderbilt, whoever, right? Because those teams were just so bad. But the reason why is exactly to what JJ said. If we lose 4 games, I need to know the context of those 4 games. So the reason why, saying 10-3 is unacceptable is that you can get very unlucky and get calls to not go your way, right? So college football games can get weird. College football games can be random. You need a lot of luck to win some 50-50 games, right? So let me ask you this. Who here thinks LSU is just going to blow UCLA out? Who thinks LSU is going to blow UCLA out? Let me know. And DRC, you make a good point here. You make a point, and I'll touch on that in a second. Who here thinks UCLA is so Jared, you think that? Okay. So here's the problem is there are too many games. Now, once again, LSU can go undefeated. They're a talented enough roster to do that. They have a talented enough roster to be unbelievably good this season. They definitely can go 11-2. The difference, though, is that you look at the schedule. Oh, Paris, there you go. I understand, Paris. Well, actually, I don't because I've never changed a tire. I understand how stressful that could be. I'm sorry about that, Paris. I will say this. There have been a lot of automobile accidents recently. And there's always automobile accidents. But as we've opened up, there's been obviously an increase of automobile accidents. I really do mean this, Paris. I'm really happy that flat tire didn't result in anything worse. And God, I'm just happy you're safe. So thank you again, Paris, for your super chat. We appreciate you. Everyone show some love for Paris. Always hooking us up with the super chats. I really do appreciate the love. Let's see here. So you have a 20. LSU 42, UCLA 10. So if what Carvis says is true, if we blow UCLA out of the water, UCLA right now is an 18-point favorite over Hawaii. LSU pulls away in third and fourth quarters. Okay. So here's my concern about saying, well, we 10-3, right? That's our bare minimum. So the UCLA game, there we go. I like that attitude. And I like the skull toxic symbol, RMNLDR. A first-time chatter and a first-time super chatter. Show some love for RMLDR. Give me some applause emojis. LSU run game shows up and the defense smothers them. Smothers! I love it, baby. Smothers. Like gravy on a chicken fried steak, smothers them. I freaking love it. I freaking love it. Like blue cheese on some lemon pepper chicken wings. Smothers. Smothers them. You smother them. That's a good point, Carvis, right? All right. So let's say LSU wins the UCLA game. I think that they do. 4.5 points. That means it's probably going to be a 50-50 game in the minds of Vegas. Obviously, a lot of it's going to depend on how UCLA looks in that first week. But here's how I view, 10-3, right? How many 50-50 games are on the schedule this year? How many games would you say, oh, the Master Blaster is out? The Master Blaster is out. Esteban, are you kidding me? Esteban with the nice cash app. Thank you so much, Esteban. We're keeping this party moving, baby. Let's go. Let's go, baby. I'm going until 3 in the morning. Let's go. Let's go. Wait, JJ, are you out? JJ, you can't be out without saying bye to your homie I-10 Roman. I think UCLA's quarterback's good. DTR, baby. That guy can play. But anyway, so the UCLA game, I think it's going to be close. I do. Let's go to Bruce's super chat here. Does LSU get, and we'll get back into the season. Once again, good night to Tony. Good night to Paris. And let's go to Esteban. Okay, so Esteban did do a cash app, and we'll go to yours right after this, Bruce. Real question, who's going to get the first pick 6 of the season? I'm actually going to go Ali Gay, okay? BJ Ojolari is going to get a strip sack. The ball is going to float in the air. Ali Gay is going to take it in from 23.5 yards out. So Ali Gay gets the first pick 6. You heard it here first, okay? BJ Ojolari comes around the edge, pass deflection, ball's going to float to Ali Gay, and he's going to house it on a zone blitz. We're going to just show a zone blitz out of nowhere, and Ali Gay's going to have it. Or Mike Jones Jr. That's actually a better option, considering he's a beast, and he's more of a coverage guy. Smothered like Carter in Super Chats. I love it. So, Esteban, let me know if that answered your question. Thanks again, Esteban, always for your support. And let me know when you get your bands in, Esteban, because we did ship them out earlier this week. Does LSU get Jones, Wiggins, Preston Law, and Azareyeh Thomas? Let's go through each and every one of these names. Emory Jones, yes. Shaz Preston, yes. Kendrick Law, yes. Azareyeh Thomas, yes. Wiggins will be interesting. I think out of all those names you listed right there, Quincy Wiggins is more important, or not as important as Emory Jones. Quincy Wiggins, to me, is not as important as Shaz Preston, not as important as Kendrick Law, not as important as Azareyeh Thomas. Wiggins is really good, okay? But Quincy Wiggins plays defensive line, and he could be the next Warren Sapp. LSU's defensive line depth is so loaded. And if you're someone watching this right now and you think Jaquelin Roy is really freaking good, if you think Mason Smith is really good, if you think Jacobian Guillory is really good, if you think Bryce Langston's really good, if you think Xavier Jones is good, if you think Landon Jackson's good, if you think BJ Ojolari is good, if you think Phillip Webb, Eric Taylor, if you think all these guys, let's just say 2 of the guys that we just named can't play at all. Even then, it's going to be so hard for a defensive lineman to actually play. Now, Quincy Wiggins could be the next Arden Key. If you view him as that good, that he's as important, if not more important, than any of the guys we just listed. I think Quincy Wiggins is really good. I really do. It's not as important as those other names on that list to me, Bruce. You might disagree. I know a lot of you think Quincy Wiggins should be a 5-star. That wouldn't shock me. He's really freaking good. But when it comes down to need, Those other guys play, a far more need position. So that's a really good super chat, Bruce. Let me know what you think about it. Quincy Wiggins, okay. So if you think Quincy Wiggins is the next Quinnen Williams, then he is better. He is the most important player out of that group because Quinnen Williams was a top 5 draft pick. So you're talking transcendency right there. So, if you think he's that good, then, once again, it comes down to your personal evaluation. I mean, obviously he's really good. Is he Warren Sapp good? Is he Dwight Freeney? We'll see. We'll see. I still feel pretty good about it. But let's just say Quincy Wiggins decides to go somewhere else. If LSU can get Jamon Tapp, if they can get Anthony Lucas, now it's going to be a little bit tough. Arizona is not necessarily known as the LSU hotspot. I think LSU's last Arizona prospect was, I don't know. That's tough. But once again, as far as, guessing where kids go, I'm not a Sam Spiegelman. I'm not a, Julie Baldwin. I'm not a super forecaster. Shea Dixon, whoever you want to mention. But, I like to be real. I think LSU has a really good chance of landing all those guys. It also helps that Quincy Wiggins does do a lot of personal workouts with Christian Lacouture, who, of course, is the former LSU graduate assistant and former LSU defensive lineman. So to follow up on that, I'm still waiting on Bruce's response here regarding his super chat. Let's see. To Graylin, who also just super chatted, it'll be hard number-wise to get Le'Veon Moss. That's a good point. If you think Kendrick Law is going to play running back and you already got Citizen locked up, if Citizen's going to play running back, maybe it's better if Le'Veon Moss, sticks with Alabama. But once again, a lot of it comes down to your personal evaluation. Sometimes I'm wrong about personal evaluations. I really am. I thought coming out that Nicholas Brissett would be unreal and Darius Geis would be really, really good. I had Brissett, slightly better. I was obviously wrong about that. You get evaluations wrong all the time. So once again, if you think Le'Veon Moss is, Jeremy Hill, Leonard Fournette level good, then obviously, that's a very important flip. But if you think he's just a really good running back and you get Citizen and you get Kendrick Law, then, you'll be fine. Slot management's very important. Barry says, what's the chance LSU gets the number 1 class? They would have to get some 5 stars to really go their way. I think it's going to be really hard to beat Ohio State in this aspect because they have viewers locked up. They got a few other top 10 guys locked up. But once again, as you guys know, that number doesn't really matter too much. As long as you're still recruiting in the top 5 and you're still recruiting in that top 10 range, you have the blue chip ratio to win national championships. Let's see. You're not supposed to bring up. I know DRC, but he played for LSU. I don't like bringing them up. Obviously, this feels like Ohio State's last shot. Who says that? We're gonna have to flip 5 stars from Bama and Ohio State to get the number 1 class. Yeah, and look, we're never going to have their level of blue chip ratio recruits, which is fine. right? It honestly is fine. To win national championships, go look at every national championship team at LSU. You need a lot of your lower ranked guys to turn out to be ballers. And, that's the 2019 team in a nutshell. So, yeah. Ohio State's really good. I'm not a Buckeyes fan by any stretch of the imagination, but they're always well coached. They're always well put together. Their defensive lines are always going to be really good. So, yeah, we'll see. LSU's done well with the last scholarship signing. Yeah, and that's a key thing, and it ties in. I don't know if Mick is still in here. We were talking about this earlier. We were talking about Texas recruiting, right? As much as I like Texas recruiting, as much as I like the kids from Texas, when LSU whiffs, oftentimes those slots goes to a Louisiana 3-star, right? And let me see. I do have an announcement to make. I want to make sure I get this in. And it would be very nice if we could get this in right here. Let me get this lined up for you. Let me make sure I got this. Because I have started a Power Hour LSU newsletter. Okay. So for those that don't know, I do want to get this in really quickly. Yeah, it would be nice to get Perkins. I used to write, right? So I wrote for Bleacher Report. I wrote for ESPN, True Hoop, SB Nation. So I want to do a little bit more writing. Obviously, YouTube is just going to be the major thing. So I have started a newsletter, and if you want to sign up for it, I've already made one post on it. Please sign up, and all you got to do is type your email in, and guess what? It's delivered to you. I'm going to do it once a week to where you'll get LSU news in your inbox. So not necessarily LSU news, but you get, LSU perspective, and we'll preview a lot of different things. So if you can't, go ahead, click that thing, and I'm going to give it an experimental try. So that is our Substack right there. But, also with the transfer portal, look, LSU has picked up a lot of their best players from the transfer portal. So, maybe, recruiting isn't overrated, but we still haven't seen what the transfer portal is going to look like now with the full year of NIL and with the full year of, immediate eligibility. Yeah, exactly, Reed. Let's see. There you go, Big Al. You were the first person to sign up. I appreciate you, man. So the cool thing about that is, you'll get LSU news right to your inbox, man. And it's also just another way to connect. SG, good to have you back in here, man. If we have a great year this year and lose coordinators again, do we trust? Yeah, that's a good question, SG, because these are young coordinators, right? And the downside of being a young coordinator is you are far more mobile. So if Durante Jones balls out, or Jake Peets balls out, they're going to get offers from around the country. What's up, Drip? Drip, where in the heck email you if you can? Not gonna lie, Big Al's probably the funniest guy on this channel. It's a battle between you and I-10 Roman. What's up, Drip? But yeah. Actually, I do want to address this. There are some coaching things that Ed Orgeron's got to work on. obviously, strategy is not what he's known for, right? That's calling plays, designing plays. That's not what he's going to do. It's not what he's ever going to do. But the key thing is decision-making in games. He needs to get better. And look, he's the one that self-reflects better than anyone. He's the big reason why we're here right now. He was hired Joe Brady. He deserves a lot of credit for that. But LSU punts too much. And what happens when, Zach Van Rosenberg was good, when you punt too much, it affects your play calling. So a good example of this was the Mississippi State game last year, okay? And this is kind of a side subject from what you talked about, SG, but Mississippi State game, there was, I'm trying to remember when, but we were down by 3, and there was a 3rd and 10, and we called a play where every single receiver on the route ran an 11-yard route. The only problem was Mississippi State brought a house blitz, and obviously if you bring a house blitz when everyone's running deep routes, it's really hard to complete unless you have Joe Burrow against Texas. It's really hard. So what happens is it was a 3rd and 10. The offensive coordinator called a play knowing that more than likely LSU was not going to go for it on 4th down. So what that does is it affects your coordinators when you know that the coach has a tendency to punt. And I think LSU did punt too much. And that goes into how you actually manage a game. So, yeah, I think it's going to be key. Reed, that's a good point. Your coordinators are such key pieces. And that's something else. Durante kills it. Blake Baker would likely, take his place. But that's just one thing. And another mistake that LSU made, it's a rare mistake, and you're hardly ever in this position in that Mississippi State game, was LSU was down by 10 with a minute remaining. When you're down by 10 with a minute remaining, you always kick a field goal when you're in field goal range, okay? You always do it, okay, when you're around the 20 or 30-yard line because, you need to score 2 possessions anyway. So LSU just kept running regular passes, which gives you a 0% chance of winning or tying the game. So that was another mistake. Now, that's just the Mississippi State games. He got better, but still. LSU also has a tendency to have rough third quarters, which, once again, I'd have to dive a little deeper into this, but if you have rough third quarters, that means your halftime adjustments normally aren't that great. So that's also something else. So we'll see if those things get fixed. He's a coordinator, so I would hope a lot in him. And we'll see. Barry, this is an interesting question. Player development greater than recurring class. Hopefully the defense gets back to forcing more turnovers. Yeah, they forced a lot of turnovers. That's what makes this point here. They forced a lot of turnovers. They forced a lot of pressure. Outside of the Missouri and Alabama game, pass rush was pretty good overall. You just got to stop the explosive plays. And we did a deep film study on what I would do differently. It's actually just one very simple fix. So we'll see. John, I do tend to slightly agree with that. I do think what happens to some coaches is they think in the third quarter, you kind of pace yourself for the fourth quarter when you should just play. So a good example of this, and this was the biggest mistake Ed Orgeron made in 2019. Now, full disclosure, Ed Orgeron knows way more about football than I do. He's a coach of the team. I love this guy. with that said, he punted on 4th and 1 in plus territory against Alabama, and that allowed Alabama to get back into the game. And you should never punt on 4th and 1 in plus territory unless you're kicking the field goal. But even then, you honestly should never. I mean, very rarely should you punt on 4th and 1 in plus territory. Okay, it was just a bad mistake. But I just think we need to be more aggressive on 4th down. That would be a huge thing. That would be something I would go to Jake Peetz and say, look, I want to be more aggressive on 4th down, because it does affect your 2nd and 3rd down play calling a lot, especially if you get behind in your downs, especially when your success rate is low. But you're right, John. It's not nearly as bad as Myles, but we do need to choke out our opposition a little bit quicker. Choklahoma. Huh? But yeah, I think Ed Orgeron's going to be fine. These are just like very minor criticisms, but it is something that needs to be addressed. And it's hard because the hard thing about college football coaching is there's so much stuff you have to do as a college football coach that has very little to do with actual coaching the sport, if that makes any sense. Since you only play 13 to 15 games a year, you are hardly ever in these spots. You spend most of your time recruiting. You spend most of your time fundraising. You also play in a lot of blowouts. So it's rare when you actually have to make these tough decisions. But oftentimes those tough decisions can oftentimes determine whether or not you're going to win or lose. Mark, she doesn't know how to do it. She really doesn't. You know what, Alan? Yeah, I've never met him, but I covered high school football in Arkansas for a long time. He's in Arkansas, and he's no longer a high school coach. He's a coach at Presbyterian, I believe, in South Carolina. His name is something. God, why is his name? I follow him on Twitter, Coach Kelly. His first name, I think it's Joe Kelly. But yes, he wins the state championship every year. He coached at Pulaski Academy. I never got to meet him, though. I mean, I called high school football in Arkansas for a long time. I say a long time, 4-ish years. John, that was really funny. And I'm not even a Star Wars guy. It is funny, Alan, though. Like, the guy who looks up to him the most, Coach Kelly, is Bill Belichick. That is so strange, right? You've done something really innovative. Tell me something good. Well, Clint, I've gotten that question a lot. I don't know if that's from Clint or Cheryl. Shout out to both of you. Do you think Brad Davis will flip a couple of Arkansas O-line commits? It depends if LSU wants those players. I would like them to go after those players. The last great, so I grew up in Arkansas. The last great LSU Tiger from Arkansas was an offensive lineman, Brett Helms from Stuttgart. So yeah, I would like that. What are their names? One's, I think they're both from Little Rock, so that helps. Little Rock is Central Arkansas, Fayetteville's in northwest corner, but Arkansas is a lot like LSU, where if you're an elite prospect in Arkansas, you more often than not go to Arkansas. If you're an elite prospect in Louisiana, you're more likely to go to LSU. You're the only Power 5 schools in the state. And I've always shared this before. My best friends live in Fayetteville. I've been in more weddings in Fayetteville than anywhere else. Fayetteville's really cool. It's just really cool. It's, I've been voted top 5 city in the country, I think 5 years in a row now. Casey, thank you for your super chat, my guy. There you are with the little man, Coach Casey. But yeah, it's very interesting, right? Fayetteville's incredible. Fayetteville's really incredible. It's Baton Rouge with mountains. Oh, absolutely, Pegasus. Absolutely. Would you give us some snaps and blowouts this year? Absolutely. No questions asked. Casey, you get to pick the next question, my guy. Go right on ahead. They don't, though. They have such low crime rates. They really do. And they have multiple Fortune 500 companies. It's just a great place. It really is. Tell me something good. Ba-ba-bow. Tell me that you like it. Quit saying my name. I would give garbage snaps to the backup. You know what's interesting? Are Baton Rouge's drivers just the absolute worst drivers on the planet? I mean, it's absolutely crazy. Casey, good question. Do you think Bama and Auburn will move to the East? That's a great question. What I think is going to happen, Casey, and this seems to be the consensus here, is I think the SEC will go into a pod system. So they'll split up into 4 different pods. And I did a few videos on this week. I think the SEC network actually had the best pod system. And I can pull it up really quickly here. But I think that's what's gonna happen. And Casey, that is what you should want to happen. I think Texas and Oklahoma is gonna make the SEC so much better than it's ever been. And what's really cool about the pod system is if you do the pod system the way that when this broke, God is my witness, I was just spitballing and I was flipping a video out as quickly as I possibly can. And I just came up with this pod system and said, wow, this actually works out to where if we play a 9-game conference schedule, you get to play every team in your conference once every 2 years. And you cannot beat that. It pains me that LSU and Georgia never play unless we're playing in the SEC championship game. You never play. If you're going to have a conference, you got to play everyone in your conference. So the good thing about the pod system, if we do the 9-game conference schedule, you play everybody in your conference once every 2 years. Okay, we joke all the time about the Big 12 or the Big 12 with only 10 teams. The good thing that they do is that they play 9-game conference schedules, and every single year you play every team in your conference. I think that's pretty cool. So I think, Casey, you want the pod system. I do think if they want to keep it East and West, they would kick Auburn and Alabama out to the East and then bring in Oklahoma and Texas to the West. It just doesn't make much sense doing it that way. Yeah, Roman, you would know better than me. But yeah, I say the Baton Rouge drivers thing. I've had a bunch of my family members total cars in Baton Rouge. And all the car mistakes made were not their own. They were not at fault for any of it. Including my absolutely closest family member, who lucky enough was not injured. It's Baton Rouge is brutal. Exactly, John. Okay, Shannon, Dallas, Fort Worth. I've actually driven pretty frequently in the DFW area. I'll tell you this. Dallas is also a more confusing city than Baton Rouge. So it's interesting. So, Barry, that seems to be the most popular pod. LSU, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and Arkansas. You do not want that pod system. Well, actually, you do want that pod system. Excuse me. That would give LSU such a huge advantage. The cool thing about the pod system is the way that I have it set up is that there are 2 top 15 recruiters in every division. If you do a pod system where that is not the case, that would be your pod system. So, you know, I don't think that you would see that pod system. I think this would be the pod system of how it looks. Do you do it like the NFL West, East, North, and South divisions? Yeah, I do think that. I could also see the SEC having a slight rebrand. Look up I-4 in Florida. Well, yeah. I've actually heard that too. Florida's just the worst. Pretty much every metro has bad drivers, right? JJ, man, from Shreveport. That is kind of convenient to live in Shreveport and you're 2 hours from Dallas. Chris Ghost. It's good, my guy. Yeah, so Pegasus, I think that would be it. 2 Mississippi schools and A&M. Trust me, I don't think A&M wants to be in the same pot as Texas and Oklahoma. I think that would not be too good. Well, all right, guys, we're 2.5 hours into this thing. I don't mind keeping it going. I'll give it a 5-minute warning here. However, Super Chats keeps this party moving. I know a lot of you don't want this to end. I'll go all night. Obviously, shout out to JJ. He got him some booger bracelets. If you want a booger bracelet, 1 for 10, 2 for 15, 3 for 20. That is shipped. If you do get 3 for 20, I throw in an LSU card that I personally pulled. I actually just got some really cool retro LSU cards in the mail. So we'll be giving out some of those. Crap, let me show you this. I'm going to give this one out. Not tonight, okay? But at some point, I'm going to give out this one right here. Look at this for you old school LSU fans. Right there. Y'all know who this guy is right here? What's really cool about this card is that this is, I believe, the Ole Miss run. Billy Cannon. Baton Rouge's own. RIP to the legend. So if you do get the 3 booger band package, you will get an LSU card. I normally just throw in a random one. So Esteban, I don't think Esteban's still in here. So I won't say the card that I threw in there, but I did throw in a player that Esteban likes a lot, who's from Texas, and Esteban's from Texas. There he is. I was about to say the card that I was threw in Esteban's package. I am not going to tell him. He's going to be thrilled because Esteban has brought his name up on this channel before. And it's not a well-known LSU player, but he was really freaking good. Oh, you have that card, FACP? It's really cool. It's really cool. I got chills when I got it earlier today. So, yeah, we'll be giving out that Billy Cannon card. Obviously, if you super chat tonight, you will be in the drawing for a Terrace Marshall rookie card that I pulled earlier today. I love this Donruss look. This is kind of a vintage look right here. And LSU, since their uniforms have mostly stayed the same, the vintage in LSU just always looks cool, right? This is just such a cool card. And I wasn't going to give this Terrace card out. I was going to give another one that I didn't like as much as this one. But this is really cool. Yeah, Esteban is just not going to happen. You know, I would like Texas and Texas A&M to play every year, but it's just not going to happen. Fisher versus Sarkisian would be an interesting coaching matchup. Yeah. Roger, you know what? When I saw you earlier this week, I was like, hold on. I got to early do set card for him. I totally forgot it. So next time we link up, I'm going to get you. I still have it. It's right over there. But I got you. It's a cool card, your early Doucette card. Yeah, Pegasus is kind of the NFL model where the first place was. Yeah, it would be cool to have like a 20-team league and have relegation. That'd be so dope. Break off from the NCAA, do your own thing. Let's do it. All gold uniforms. Let's go. Yeah, Reed, but the bottom line is if LSU and Alabama don't play each other, more than likely there is a high chance that both of those teams are going to make the playoff, right? So I understand that. I've gotten a lot of pushback from this. I've gotten a few angry messages as well from people saying, you don't know anything about tradition. And tradition, we should play Alabama every year. And I get it. And me saying no to that is not me ducking Alabama. It's just you're still going to play them a lot. Alabama's going to still make the playoff every year in a 12-team format. So even in the years we don't play them, we're probably going to have to play them, right? So, yeah. I do, John. I do. Oh, I didn't actually put this. There you go. I'm glad you brought that up, John. I didn't pin it. Carter, I have some LSU cards I'd like to send you. Yeah, FACP. Let me see what I could do for you, man. FACP, send me an email right there, and we can see what we can do. SEC is going to average 4 teams a year in the expanded playoff. That's true, John. Shoot me an email, FACP, and we'll see what we can do. Another way you could support the channel. Boom, right there. Also, buy a shirt. You can also support the new PHL newsletter right there, where you get some LSU news in your inbox once a week. So there we go. Well, all right, guys, we'll go for a few more minutes. Once again, if you want to keep this train moving. Dude, Tony didn't show up tonight. There you go. Thank you, Matt, for signing up. Casey, thank you. Man, Casey, every time you come in, you always drop a super chat. I appreciate you. I see your little man in the photo. Keep being a good dad. Keep being a good coach. It's always good. John, I appreciate. Oh, that's right, John. I saw you in the chat there. You know what's funny? I saw John, and he commented. He was like, oh, he's all right. And I was like, John, I'm right here, baby. You know what's funny? When sometimes I catch Jacob and T-Bob in the morning, and I see a bunch of people in the live chat that I know, like Emil. I went to college with him. He's so great. And Bo's in there. Bo's sometimes in here as well. I didn't know Bo in college, but he's still cool. Those chat rooms are ruthless. They are ruthless. And ours could be ruthless at times too. But yeah, man, I have a lot of respect for everybody on 104.5. They're all really good. So it was cool to, get on that. I think that was I think I've made radio appearances on every station in Louisiana. I think Baton Rouge, yes, 104.5. I used to go on WWL weekly. I miss doing that. I go on in Alexandria quite a bit. I do the Ruston and Monroe area a lot of the times. I used to do Shreveport with my friend Ben Mintz. He's now at Barstool. Mintz is a beast. So yeah, I just freaking love Louisiana, man. I love everything about it. I love North Louisiana. I know it's easy to pick on North Louisiana, and I'm not just saying that because we have a lot of Shreveport guys that watch our stuff. But I freaking love North Louisiana. I mean, it is unreal, like how much fun Ruston has become. And, it's simple. It's great. They got great. Ruston has some incredible food. Incredible food. Let's go to Mark. I think we'll have to let go of SEC traditions. There you go, Mark. I knew I'd convince you. So, look, Mark, I know you, and you've been following me for a long time, even outside of this channel. Look, I understand, especially for, and Mark, don't take this personally, especially for our fans of the channel that have been around for a while. So Mark is an Auburn fan. He understands the significance of Auburn versus Georgia. So we don't understand Auburn versus Georgia. Auburn's never been our top rival. Georgia hasn't really been anything to us either. But Auburn and Georgia is the longest tenured rivalry we have in the SEC. It has been played more and longer than any other game in the SEC. And that's all I know about it. I know there's more history to that game. The bottom line is unfortunate, and this is just a simple truth, right? While that is important, and while that history is important, and Auburn and Georgia, they have a lot in common. They've had the two most iconic running backs in the history of the conference. They've had some of the most iconic coaches in the history of the conference. Dooley, Dye, whoever you want to mention. There's a lot to those two programs. But sports evolve, and things evolve, and life evolves. And it's to the point now where Auburn and Georgia playing each other every year, we're hurting both of the programs. So, it's wild. It's absolutely wild, but it's better for the programs. I love this random comment from Esteban. Am I the only one that loved the 2000? Those uniforms were really cool, Esteban. For those who don't remember, it was a very simplistic vintage LSU look. How will Texas and OU affect to the SEC affect LSU? Good question, Black Mamba. It's good. It's been our main topic of discussion. It's a good thing for LSU. Yeah, you know what, Clinton Sherrill? Yes, surprisingly, from day one, our breeder that we got Z from really had her train well. She goes on the piddle consistently. Now, sometimes she slightly miss, and she'll boom, boom, boom. She'll go boom, boom anywhere in the house, but really mostly on carpets in the bathroom instead of her boom, boom spot. She's really well behaved outside of course, the teething. So that's why you guys only got to see Z once tonight. I'm really sorry about that. She's been acting up bad. So if you guys want, I could go get Z really quickly and show you before we get out of here. I know a lot of you want to see Z a lot. I get a lot of angry messages from people. We want more of the dog. What about for Alabama? It doesn't affect Alabama all that much. However, it does help LSU more than it helps Alabama. Good question, Paul. The answer to that is maybe. My day's been good, Cuban. Good to hear from you. 3 hours into this. Paul, yes, it's they very well could be. Tennessee's got the tradition. They got the resources. Obviously some recruiting things need to go their way. But, at the end of this last coach, Bama's defensive coordinator, whatever his name was, he started recruiting pretty well. And he was just not a good coach. I know, JJ. John, thank you so much for being a part of our chat tonight. It's good. It's good to see some of the 104.5ers over here. It's cool, man. Freaking love it. Philip Fulmer. I got a funny Philip Fulmer story I'll share one time on this channel. Might get me in a lot of trouble, though. But, John, you're right on point with your comment. But, Cuban, my day's been good. I got a little run in earlier. I set up the Substack, the email newsletter. Not Pete Golding. Come on. Tennessee's last coach, I got fired. He was a defensive coordinator. Someone tell me. Jeremy Pruitt, thank you. Don't forget, go ahead and sign up. But yeah, guys, we're gonna go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you guys so much for making this such a fun video. And our winner of the Terrace Marshall card tonight. I gotta go with JJ. I've got to go with JJ. JJ's from Shreveport. As you guys know, JJ's been with us for a while. JJ, this card is going to be yours, my friend. Congratulations. I know there's quite a few of you that super chatted. I know there's a lot of you that wanted this Terrace Marshall card. It is so cool. But JJ's from Shreveport. He actually is a big Terrace Marshall fan, judging by your super chats and questions in the past. So if this was Jamar Chase, I might give it to someone else. But I feel, I was going to do a randomizer, Roger, and do the next live chat. I think we could agree that a guy from Shreveport deserves. I think someone from Shreveport deserves this card. I don't think a lot of you would disagree with that. Let's go ahead and top load this thing, man. It's going to you, JJ. Congratulations, man. Do you not want to say bye to this one, though? I do need to. There you go, JJ. You got some booger bands coming your way, too, man. Well, guys, we will see you on Monday. By the way, please sign up. You see, there you go, Roger. Roger's a little sour because Early Doucette's his favorite player of all time. He's not got it. Thank you, Big Al, for signing up for the newsletter. Go ahead and sign up for the newsletter. Get your shirts. And guess what? Our next live chat, you'll get more opportunity to win your booger bands. Okay? And by the way, Esteban, you actually do have a card coming your way as well of a Texas Tiger. Would I hire Pete Golding? No, because we're fine with Durante. It is Power Hour LSU Bomb. Now we're doing pizza tonight. Let's go. Detroit style. Let's go.